Welcome back, seekers of truth. Today we witness a dark tale of deep betrayal and unbroken faith. Imagine decaying in a sunless Egyptian dungeon, chained to the cold stone, forgotten by the world. Yet this broken man was once the supreme overseer in the lavish estate of Pharaoh's own captain. How did a favored son become a shackled slave, only to fall into the abyss of royal darkness? Prepare yourselves. We uncover the dark path of Joseph, where true faith collides with the deepest shadows. The unforgiving desert sun beats down on a dusty caravan of weary travelers and captives. Among them walks a young Hebrew named Joseph, violently stripped of his beloved coat and his dignity. Heavy rusted iron shackles dig deep into his bruised wrists and bleeding ankles with every single step. Once the favorite son of a wealthy patriarch, he is now reduced to nothing but breathing merchandise. The Midianite merchants drag him across the endless, burning sands toward the mighty empire of Egypt. Ancient records confirm the slave trade built the brutal foundation of the mighty Egyptian empire. Finally, massive stone gates of a bustling Egyptian city loom in the hazy distance right before them. They arrive at a crowded and noisy slave market, choking with heavy dust and a smell of desperation. Hundreds of captives are displayed on raised wooden platforms, their human worth measured purely by muscle. Wealthy citizens in pristine white linen garments wander through the chaotic aisles, inspecting the goods. Joseph is forcefully shoved forward onto the display block, his tired body shivering despite the heat. The greedy merchants begin shouting, demanding a high price for the strong and incredibly handsome youth. Bidders inspect him like cattle, checking his teeth and forcefully grabbing his weary, bruised muscles. He remains completely silent, swallowing his bitter tears, trying to maintain his shattered dignity. Suddenly, the noisy crowd parts in absolute silence as a highly imposing figure steps forward. It is Potiphar, the captain of the royal guard, a man whose sheer presence commands instant respect. He wears gleaming bronze armor and elaborate gold jewelry that reflects the harsh Egyptian sunlight. His cold eyes lock onto the slave, instantly recognizing raw potential hidden in the quiet boy. Without a single word, Potiphar tosses a heavy leather pouch of silver coins onto the stone table. The transaction is complete. Joseph is now the absolute legal property of a powerful master. Royal guards step forward, aggressively unlocking his rusted chains to apply new, heavier restraints. He is dragged away from the chaotic market, forced to march behind his wealthy and demanding new owner. They walk through the grand streets of the capital, lined with towering statues of ancient animal gods. The vast scale of Egyptian architecture is designed to make any man feel completely small and helpless. They arrive at an incredibly lavish estate, hidden behind tall walls and lush, blooming gardens. Inside, servants rush around frantically, serving their cruel masters with terrified, lowered heads. Joseph is thrown into the lowest ranks of household slaves, assigned the hardest and most grueling labor. History shows that even in dark misery, divine favor carefully guided his every single move. Over the following months, the young slave works tirelessly, demonstrating unmatched wisdom and skill. Whatever he touches greatly prospers, bringing immense new wealth directly to his cruel master. Seeing this rare talent, Potiphar quickly promotes him, elevating him far above the other slaves. Soon, Joseph becomes the chief steward of the household, managing every single coin and piece of land. He exchanges filthy rags for pristine white linen, proudly wearing the golden ring of authority. He manages vast storehouses, agricultural fields, and dozens of servants with absolute perfection. But as his influence grows, a highly dangerous and venomous shadow begins to quietly watch him. It is Potiphar's wife, a stunningly beautiful, but highly manipulative and bored noblewoman. From the shadows of the grand pillared halls, her dark, heavily painted eyes track his every movement. She is intensely captivated by his muscular physique and the confident grace of his daily stride. In ancient Egypt, noblewomen held massive power and often pursued their darkest desires freely. Day after day, she finds excuses to call the handsome servant into her private, fragrant chambers. Reclining on a silk couch, she speaks to him with a voice dripping with sweet, lethal poison. She blatantly offers herself, commanding him to lie with her and betray his master's absolute trust. But Joseph is a man rooted in divine morality, standing firm like a rock in a raging dark storm. He firmly rejects her advances, refusing to sin against God and the man who elevated him. If you were given absolute power and temptation in secret, would you maintain your moral purity? His firm rejection fuels her obsession, twisting her toxic desire into something highly dangerous. One quiet afternoon, the sprawling estate is strangely empty. The other servants are working far away. Joseph enters the main house alone to complete his administrative duties and check the daily records. The mistress suddenly emerges from the shadows, blocking the only exit with a dark, predatory smile. She lunges forward, desperately grabbing the pristine white linen of his expensive outer cloak. With terrifying aggression, she demands his compliance, her voice echoing loudly through the silent halls. Panic sets in. Joseph fully realizes the danger. A mere slave simply cannot strike a noblewoman. To save his soul, he makes a split-second decision. He forcefully twists away from her tight grip. As he violently tears himself free and runs out the door, she firmly holds on to his ripped white garment. He flees into the bright courtyard, leaving behind the only physical proof of his prestigious position. Left alone in the shadows, her burning lust instantly transforms into cold, calculated, and bitter hate. She looks at the torn fabric in her hands. A wicked, venomous plan quickly forms in her twisted mind. She begins screaming hysterically, tearing her own hair and forcefully breaking expensive pottery. Servants rush in, finding their mistress weeping violently, clutching the Hebrew slave's torn white cloak. The trap is flawlessly set. The web of devastating lies has been spun, waiting for the master's return. Evening falls. The heavy doors of the grand estate swing open as the powerful captain finally returns. He finds his wife sobbing uncontrollably, holding the absolute physical proof of a dark treason. With crocodile tears, she points an accusing finger, twisting the truth into a highly poisonous weapon. The Hebrew servant you brought came in to mock me and forcefully violate my high honor, she cries out. Hearing this, Potiphar's face instantly contorts into a terrifying mask of pure, unbridled rage. By ancient Egyptian law, an attempted assault by a slave warranted an immediate, tragic fate. The captain draws his bronze khopesh sword, its sharp, curved blade glinting menacingly in the dim torchlight. He roars an aggressive command, sending elite armed guards to violently capture the accused young man. Joseph is violently ambushed in the courtyard, thrown face first onto the unforgiving hard stone floor. They ruthlessly strike him, showing zero mercy to the man who was once their respected leader. His fine clothes are brutally ripped away, reducing him back to a naked and miserable slave. Potiphar stands towering over the bleeding youth, his eyes blazing with the fierce fire of betrayal. Joseph desperately tries to explain his pure innocence, pleading for a fair chance to speak the truth. But the absolute word of an Egyptian nobleman always crushes the fragile voice of a foreign slave. There is no trial, no investigation, and no defense in this deeply brutal ancient world. However, scholars note a strange detail. Potiphar does not end him, despite his extreme anger. Perhaps, deep down in his heart, the wise commander suspected the dark, deceitful nature of his own wife. Instead of blood, he chooses the slow agony of total isolation, ordering guards to shackle him. Heavy, rusted iron cuffs are aggressively slammed onto his bruised wrists, chaining his broken body once more. The guards drag him away violently, his bare feet bleeding against the unyielding stone floors of the hall. In the background, the treacherous wife stands silently in the shadows, a wicked smile on her face. Everything Joseph worked so hard to build over the years has been completely destroyed in one night. He is cast out of the glorious light and thrown into the ultimate dark pit of utter despair. They march him toward the royal dungeon, a terrifying place designed for political prisoners. It is a subterranean hellhole where men are sent to be completely forgotten by the world above. The heavy wooden doors scream as they open, revealing a pitch-black abyss smelling of damp decay. When faced with extreme injustice, how do you prevent your heart from being consumed by bitter hatred? Joseph is violently shoved down steep stone stairs into the absolute suffocating darkness below. The massive iron gate slams shut behind him with a deafening crash, sealing his terrifying fate. Inside the damp cell, there is practically no light, only the sickening sounds of rats and weeping souls. He wears a heavy iron collar, brutally chaining his tired neck to the unyielding dungeon wall. Days bleed into endless weeks. His body slowly wastes away from severe starvation and deep disease. His hair grows long and matted, covered in the filthy mud of the dark underground royal prison. To an ordinary man, this profound injustice would absolutely shatter their faith and crush the spirit. Yet, even in the darkest abyss, Joseph silently prays, his eyes fixed on a single tiny beam of light. He never curses the divine, holding tightly to his pure, unwavering spiritual faith. The harsh jailer notices his exceptionally calm demeanor and his unusual administrative skills. Even locked in rusty iron, his remarkable divine gift of organization shines through. They slowly hand him the rusty keys, letting him manage the desperate prison population. He walks among the weeping souls, bringing a strange sense of order to the absolute chaos. Though his physical body remains severely chained, his resilient mind is completely free. In this dark and forgotten place, the young Hebrew learns the hard patience of a true leader. His severe suffering is secretly forging the iron discipline needed to save a nation. God was not abandoning him. The harsh dungeon was his final, brutal training ground. Every agonizing day behind bars sharpens his brilliant intellect and tests his deep resolve. He learns to survive the devastating political nightmares of the ruthless Egyptian royal court.
Silence him before the night ends.
Years pass in absolute silence as he faithfully waits for his promised divine destiny. One ordinary day, Heavy, echoing footsteps violently crash down the damp, terrifying hall. Elite royal guards violently throw two new, highly distinguished prisoners into his dark cell. They are the chief cupbearer and the chief baker of the great, incredibly mighty Pharaoh himself. These powerful men have fallen from absolute grace and totally lost their royal, imperial favor. Their sudden, dramatic arrival sets the invisible gears of a massive history turning point. Joseph chose the dungeon over committing a dark sin. Was his strict integrity worth the brutal price? Would you sacrifice freedom to keep your moral purity? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. If you loved this epic journey, please hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to us.